Last year, 180 million euros was spent on advertising and improving websites by Irish companies for Irish internet users. Actually, three things are happening. One, how we use the internet is changing. 2010 is a fundamental change in that. The first change is mobile. We're now connected to the internet permanently throughout our day. What we previously did on a laptop, we're now doing to a large extent on a mobile, whether it's grabbing email, news, Twitter, whatever it is, we're doing that on the move now, much more so than we did before. Combine that with new developments like iPad, etc., new mobile devices, and we're actually beginning to, our internet use is just changing dramatically, almost to the point that Eric Schmidt in Barcelona said 60% of future revenues will come from mobility, right? People out and about. 2 years ago, that company, Google, generated all its revenue from the web. So advertising actually is changing. So these new formats of mobile and iPads, and actually later this year, the connected TV is coming from companies like Samsung. So the internet TV in the corner that actually, you know, the internet experience from a remote control, all new formats, all new publishing platforms, all new changes that actually we all have to adapt to if we're consumer focused or customer focused, are shaking up the digital advertising industry to the point that actually new entrants such as our company can actually come into the business very, very quickly and establish a presence because we're embracing what's new and we're not really focused on the past. And this is actually fundamentally changing the digital advertising industry. I think it's really interesting to see the newspapers today actually raising the exact same questions, you know, how do we get paid for content? And they're quite valid questions. The real question in my mind is kind of the answer, you know, and you know, have we learned anything actually about the early days? Personally, I believe advertising will always play a part. Will it pay all the bills? Not at all. If your content is good enough, people will pay for that content. Will advertising be part of that mix? Of course. I've always had a newspaper with a cover price on advertising, you know, and the hybrid of the two, whether it's a magazine, a newspaper, that's always been there. If I pay for Sky Television, there's still ad breaks. You know, so it's the mixture of the two is not new to media. I think the big challenge for media companies is actually to get the right balance between advertising and charging for access to quality journalism. And I think people will pay for quality journalism. We'll see, you know, when we take a look at some of the new some of the new content formats on the iPad, it's quite interesting to see the mix of advertising and subscription beginning to happen in a very rich format on the iPad. The format that I might be willing to pay for actually is quite interesting. So if I take a magazine that I've always enjoyed, Time magazine. Time magazine traditionally was a print publication, but actually when I look at it online, it's almost half video now, and it's all, you know, really rich photographs and really good journalism. I'll happily pay for that. That's not a problem. I would expect a live news service also from Time, which I do get, and that's an ad-funded product. That kind of mix is quite interesting to see, you know, how they're experimenting with that from the outset. iPad is seen as maybe an opportunity for the print industry in particular to change its business model online. So, you know, it's beginning today as a subscription-based service. So whether it's the New York Times, Time Magazine, USA Today, you're going to see all of these particular applications becoming paid for applications almost from the outset. Whether that'll be successful, I suppose time will tell. What is interesting is we're kind of used to paying for things on our mobile phone, we're not on the PC. So there is a mindset that says, well, you know, maybe we should start charging from the outset for things that we get on our mobile phone. It'll be a big challenge, I think, for people who've been used to the iPhone to suddenly start paying, you know, $15 for an app on the iPad or $2 a month for access to their favorite app. These are all going to be new challenges. So I suppose if we check back in 6 months' time and see where the model is, I think the really, really strong content companies will probably have been successful. I think others will have adopted a mix of hybrid of ad-funded and subscription-based services, and others will just be completely ad-funded. I mean, it's really interesting. So what, you know, when we talk about mobile advertising, sometimes we talk about ads on the mobile screen, but actually mobile advertising is quite broader. The mobile in advertising, or as a way of connecting somebody to an ad, is quite interesting. And 2D codes appearing in print advertising or outdoor advertising actually extend that ad into the digital world. So let me give you an example. If a new movie is launching and I'm standing at a bus shelter and I see a promotion for that movie, I can point my phone at the code. It'll take me directly to a website where I can actually see the trailer or click to see where closest to me the next showing of that movie is. I can download a wallpaper, a ringtone, or maybe be taken directly into iTunes, maybe download the soundtrack to the movie. So there's a whole range of different connections that can be made from that print ad. And to me, that's bringing a whole new lease of life to print and outdoor advertising. Bringing new value to the advertiser and the consumer, and also allowing the advertiser to be able to some extent track part of the performance of that ad. So for example, we live in a performance-driven advertising world where, you know, the Googles of the world have allowed us to actually track the clicks and see what's happening with our ads. Print, you know, that hasn't been as easy. There's a huge value in print and outdoor that comes from branding, but there's a second value that now can be brought through QR codes where we can actually see what's happening with the ad, how many people are actually clicking through and what they're interested in getting in terms of further information.